I was sitting in Mr. Harrison's law office, my hands trembling like leaves in a storm. The sealed envelope had been waiting for 5 years, 5 long years since my husband Robert passed away. Robert's handwriting on the front read, "Nadine, only open this when you're ready." I'm sorry. Was I ready? Could anyone ever be ready for what their deceased husband had to say after 5 years of silence? My name is Nadine Thompson, and I'm 73 years old. I live in the Adamsville neighborhood of Atlanta, where Robert and I built our life together for 45 years. I worked as a nurse at Grady Memorial Hospital for 40 years, taking care of folks who needed help, never imagining that one day I'd need someone to take care of me. Robert died 5 years ago from a sudden stroke. One morning he was drinking his coffee and reading the newspaper, and by that evening he was gone. The doctor said it was quick, that he didn't suffer. That was supposed to comfort me, but it didn't. How do you prepare to lose someone when you don't even get to say goodbye? Our children, Michael and Sharon, were devastated. Or at least, that's what I thought at the time. Michael, my 48-year-old son who works as an insurance agent, cried at the funeral. Sharon, my 50-year-old daughter who works at a bank, gave the eulogy and talked about what a wonderful father Robert had been. Their spouses, Tanya and Kenneth, stood by their sides looking appropriately somber. For 5 years I lived as Robert's widow. I kept his clothes in the closet because I couldn't bear to give them away. I still set 2 plates at dinner, sometimes out of habit, then had to put one back with tears in my eyes. I visited his grave every Sunday after church, bringing fresh flowers and telling him about my week. But 3 weeks ago, everything changed when Mr. Harrison called me. "Mrs. Thompson," he said in that careful lawyer voice, "I need you to come to my office. It's about Mr. Robert's will. There's a special provision that I'm now authorized to execute." "A special provision?" I asked, confused. "But we settled the will 5 years ago." "This is different, ma'am. Mr. Robert left specific instructions that this envelope should only be given to you exactly 5 years after his passing. That date is this week." My heart started pounding. What kind of man leaves his wife a message that can only be opened 5 years after his death? What secrets could be so important that they needed time to what? Ferment? Reveal themselves? When I told Michael and Sharon about the lawyer's call, their reactions were strange. Michael's face went pale and he said, "Mama, you don't have to go. Whatever Daddy wrote, it's probably just old sentiments." "Why dig up the past?" Sharon was more direct. "Mama, this sounds like some kind of game. Daddy's gone. Let him rest in peace. Don't let some lawyer manipulate you with mysterious letters." But their urgency to stop me only made me more determined to go. Why were my own children so afraid of what their father might have written? So here I was, sitting in Mr. Harrison's office on a Tuesday morning, staring at the envelope that had been locked in his safe for 5 years. "Mrs. Thompson," Mr. Harrison said gently, "I don't know what's in this letter." Mr. Robert sealed it himself and made me promise not to read it, but he was very clear that you should receive it exactly 5 years after his passing, and that you should read it privately before sharing it with anyone else. "Did he say why 5 years?" I asked. He said, 5 years is enough time for people to show who they really are when they think nobody's watching." Those words sent a chill down my spine. What did Robert know? What had he been watching for? Mr. Harrison handed me the envelope and left me alone in his conference room. I sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, holding this piece of my husband's final thoughts in my hands. Finally, I broke the seal and pulled out several pages of Robert's familiar handwriting. My eyes filled with tears as I recognized the way he made his R's, the little loop he always put on his Y's. It was like hearing his voice again after 5 years of silence. "My dearest Nadine," the letter began. "If you're reading this, then I've been gone for 5 years. I hope they've been good years for you, that you've found peace and joy even without me there, but I'm afraid that what I'm about to tell you might shatter that peace, and for that I am truly sorry. I need to tell you 3 things, and I need you to read this entire letter before you talk to anyone, especially our children. Please, Nadine, for 45 years you trusted me. Trust me one more time. First, I need you to know that I loved you more than life itself. Everything I did, every decision I made was to protect you and provide for you. If some of my choices seem strange or secretive, please understand they came from love, not deception. Second, I have been keeping a significant secret from you and from our children. For the last 20 years of my life, I worked a second job that nobody knew about. You remember all those times I said I was going to play cards with the boys on Thursday nights? Or those weekend fishing trips with my cousins? I wasn't playing cards or fishing, Nadine. I was working. When I retired from the post office at 58, I told you and the kids that my pension would be enough for us to live comfortably. And it was. But I wanted more for you. I wanted to make sure that if something happened to me, you would never have to worry about money, never have to depend on anyone, never have to beg our children for help. So I started doing handyman work, plumbing, electrical, carpentry. I was good at it, and word spread. Before long, I had more clients than I could handle. Rich folks in Buckhead would pay top dollar for quality work, and I provided quality. I saved every penny I made, invested it carefully, and over 20 years, I built something substantial. Nadine, there is money. A lot of money, $2.8 million to be exact. I can imagine your face right now, shock, maybe anger that I kept this from you, maybe disbelief. Let me explain why I kept it secret. About 3 years before I died, I started noticing changes in our children. Michael began asking questions about our finances, about the house, about our assets. At first, I thought he was just being a good son, making sure we were prepared for old age. But then I overheard a conversation that changed everything. I came home early one day, told you I had a headache, remember? And I heard Michael and Sharon in the kitchen with their spouses, Tanya and Kenneth. They didn't know I was there. They were talking about us, Nadine, about you and me. Tanya said, "They're getting old. How much longer are we supposed to wait?" Sharon said, "Mama's stubborn. She won't agree to move to a care facility unless we can convince her it's her idea." Michael said, "The house alone is worth $400,000, plus whatever savings they have. If we can get power of attorney before Dad goes, we can start accessing it now." Kenneth said, "What about after he's gone?" Old ladies like Nadine are easy to manipulate. My mother lasted 2 years in Shady Brook before she passed, cost us almost nothing. I stood in that hallway, Nadine, and my heart broke. Our children, the babies we raised, the kids we sacrificed everything for, were planning to warehouse you in a nursing home so they could take our house and money. I started recording their conversations after that. I have hours of tape, Nadine, hours of them planning how to get you declared incompetent, how to sell the house, how to divide up the money. They even talked about which lawyer they would use to expedite the process. That's when I made my plan. I couldn't tell you while I was alive because I needed to see if they would go through with it. I needed 5 years, enough time for them to show their true colors, enough time for you to see for yourself what they really wanted. This brings me to the third thing I need to tell you. There are conditions on the money I left. In my official will that was read 5 years ago, I left everything to you. The house, my pension, my small savings account. That was all legitimate and normal. But this money, the $2.8 million, was set up differently. It's in a trust controlled by Mr. Harrison with very specific instructions. Here's what I instructed. If Michael and Sharon treated you with respect, dignity, and genuine love for these 5 years, if they didn't pressure you to sell the house, didn't try to control your finances, didn't attempt to have you declared incompetent or move you to a care facility against your will, then the money should be split. 1 million to you to enjoy your remaining years, and $900,000 divided equally between our children. But if they showed their true colors, if they tried any of the schemes I heard them planning, then every single penny goes to you, with the explicit instruction that they should receive nothing, not $1. Mr. Harrison has been watching Nadine. I hired him not just as a lawyer, but as a guardian. He'd been monitoring the situation, talking to your neighbors, even checking public records for any attempts to manipulate your assets. By now, he will have briefed you on what he's observed over these 5 years, and you, my dear wife, will know in your heart what the truth is. I'm sorry I had to do it this way. I'm sorry I couldn't just tell you while I was alive and confront them together. But I needed you to see it for yourself because I knew you would defend them, make excuses for them, believe the best in them, because that's who you are, Nadine. You've always seen the best in people, even when they don't deserve it. The recording tapes are in a safe deposit box at First National Bank. Mr. Harrison has the key. The evidence of their schemes is all documented. Use it however you see fit. I love you, Nadine. I always have. I always will. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and my only regret is that I can't be there to protect you now. But I did my best to protect you from beyond the grave. All my love, forever and always, Robert. I sat in that conference room and cried like I hadn't cried since the day Robert died. But these weren't tears of grief. They were tears of rage, betrayal, and worst of all, recognition. Because Robert was right. Over the past 5 years, everything he predicted had come true. It started 6 months after his funeral. Michael suggested I should consider downsizing, selling our family home and moving into a senior apartment. It's too much house for one person, Mama, he said. What if you fall? What if something breaks and you can't fix it? A year after Robert's death, Sharon brought me brochures for active senior communities, fancy words for assisted living facilities. Look how nice these places are, Mama. They have activities, medical staff on site, other people your age. You wouldn't be lonely anymore. But I wasn't lonely. I had my church friends, my neighbors, my garden. I was doing just fine. 2 years after Robert's death, Tanya started asking pointed questions about my finances. Mrs. Thompson, do you have a financial advisor? Are you sure you're managing your money well? Michael and I would be happy to help you. 3 years after Robert's death, they brought a lawyer to Sunday dinner. Introduced him as a family friend who specialized in estate planning for seniors. He talked about power of attorney, about making sure my affairs were in order, about the importance of having younger family members who could make decisions if something happened. I said no. I told them I was managing just fine, that I had my own lawyer, that I didn't need their help. That's when things got worse. 4 years after Robert's death, Michael told his sister that he was worried about Mama's mental state. Sharon started asking me the same questions repeatedly, then telling people I was forgetting things. Kenneth mentioned to neighbors that I seemed confused sometimes. They were building a case, just like Robert said they would. They were creating a paper trail to have me declared incompetent so they could take control. 5 years after Robert's death, 3 weeks ago, they had a family meeting at my house. All 4 of them, Michael, Tanya, Sharon, and Kenneth. They sat me down and told me they had made a decision for my own good. Mama, Sharon said, we found a wonderful facility. Peachtree Senior Living. It's beautiful, it's safe, and we've already put down a deposit. We're going to sell the house, Michael added. The market is good right now, and you don't need all this space. The money from the sale will cover your care for years. What if I don't want to move? I asked. That's when Kenneth pulled out papers. We've consulted with lawyers, he said. Given your age and your recent memory issues, we think it's best if Michael has power of attorney. We just need you to sign here. I looked at my children, my babies, my pride and joy, and I saw strangers. Robert had been right about everything. Get out, I said quietly. Mama, don't be difficult, Sharon said. Get out of my house. They left, but not before Michael said, we're doing this for your own good, Mama. With or without your cooperation. That was 2 weeks before Mr. Harrison called me about the letter. Now, sitting in his office, holding Robert's letter in my hands, I finally understood everything. My husband had known. He had seen it coming, and he had protected me in the only way he could. Mr. Harrison came back into the conference room and sat down across from me. You've read it, he said. It wasn't a question. I nodded, unable to speak. Then you know about the money. And you know about the conditions. Tell me, I said, finding my voice. Tell me what you've observed over these 5 years. Mr. Harrison opened a thick file folder. I've documented everything, Mrs. Thompson. The pressure to sell the house, the suggestions about nursing homes, the attempts to question your mental competency. 3 weeks ago, your son Michael actually contacted a judge he knows, inquiring about the process for declaring someone legally incompetent. They were really going to do it, I whispered. They were really going to do it, he confirmed. Your husband was a very wise man. He knew that if he told you about the money while he was alive, they might change their behavior temporarily. But 5 years? 5 years was enough time for their true nature to show. What happens now? I asked. Now, Mr. Harrison said, you make a decision. The terms of the trust are clear. Given their behavior, you are entitled to the entire $2.8 million. But you could choose to share it with them anyway. It's your choice, Mrs. Thompson. I thought about my children, the babies I had nursed, the toddlers I had comforted through nightmares, the teenagers I had supported through heartbreaks. Where had those people gone? When had they been replaced by these greedy strangers? I want to hear the tapes, I said. I want to hear everything Robert recorded. Mr. Harrison hesitated. Mrs. Thompson, I'm not sure that's... I want to hear them, I repeated firmly. If I'm going to make this decision, I need to hear it with my own ears. He nodded and set up a small recording device. For the next hour, I listened to my children plot against me. I heard them laugh about how senile I was becoming. I heard them calculate how much my house was worth and how quickly they could sell it. I heard Tanya say, old people are like children. They need to be told what's best for them. With each conversation, my heart broke a little more, but my resolve grew stronger. When the recordings finished, I sat in the silence for a long moment. Mr. Harrison, I finally said, I want you to set up a meeting with my children. Tell them we need to discuss the estate. Don't tell them about the letter or the money. Just tell them it's important. He smiled slightly. When would you like this meeting? Tomorrow, I said. I've waited 5 years. I'm not waiting anymore. The meeting was set for 2 p.m. the next day in Mr. Harrison's conference room. I arrived early, and Mr. Harrison briefed me on exactly how this would go. When Michael, Sharon, Tanya, and Kenneth walked in, they looked confused but hopeful. "Mama," Michael said, "what's this all about?" Mr. Harrison said it was urgent estate business. "Sit down," I said calmly. They exchanged glances but sat. "I've been thinking about what you said," I continued, "about me needing help, about moving to that facility, about the power of attorney." Sharon's eyes lit up. "Mama, that's wonderful. We're so glad you're being reasonable about this. But first," I said, "Mr. Harrison has some information to share with you about your father's estate." Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. 5 years ago, Mr. Robert Thompson passed away. At that time, we read his will, which left everything to Mrs. Nadine Thompson. However, there was a sealed provision that could only be opened 5 years after his death. All 4 of them leaned forward, suddenly very interested. "That provision," Mr. Harrison continued, "concerned a substantial sum of money that Mr. Thompson had accumulated through private business ventures over the last 20 years of his life." "How much money?" Kenneth asked bluntly. $2.8 million. The room erupted. Sharon gasped. Tanya's eyes went wide. Michael stood up, then sat back down. Kenneth was already calculating numbers in his head. I could see it on his face. "Where is this money?" Michael demanded. "That's what we're here to discuss," Mr. Harrison said. "You see, Mr. Thompson left very specific conditions about who would receive this money." "Conditions?" Sharon asked nervously. "Yes. The money was to go to his wife, Mrs. Thompson, with a portion set aside for his children, but only if certain conditions were met." "What conditions?" Tanya asked. Mr. Harrison pulled out the letter and began reading specific passages aloud. With each word, I watched the color drain from my children's faces. When he got to the part about the recordings, Michael interrupted, "This is crazy. Daddy was paranoid in his old age. There's no way. Would you like to hear the recordings?" I asked quietly. Silence. "I've heard them," I continued. "All of them. Every conversation you had about me, every plan you made, every scheme to get my house and my money." "Mama," Sharon started, but I held up my hand. "I heard you call me senile. I heard you laugh about putting me in a nursing home. I heard you talk about me like I was already dead and you were just waiting to collect your inheritance." Tears were streaming down Sharon's face, but I didn't know if they were tears of shame or tears of anger at getting caught. "Mr. Harrison," I said, turning to the lawyer, "what were my husband's exact instructions regarding the distribution of funds if the conditions were not met?" "In the event that the children demonstrated greed, manipulation, or any attempt to control Mrs. Thompson's life or assets, the entire sum of $2.8 million would go solely to Mrs. Thompson with no provision for the children whatsoever." You could have heard a pin drop in that conference room. "You're not giving us anything," Michael finally said, "after everything we've done for you?" "Everything you've done for me," I repeated, "or everything you've done to me?" "We were trying to help you," Tanya protested, "by trying to have me declared incompetent, by pressuring me to sell my home, by planning to warehouse me in a nursing home so you could spend my money." "Mama, that's not," Sharon started. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice rising for the first time. "I've heard the tapes. I know the truth. Your father knew the truth. That's why he protected me like this." Kenneth stood up. "This is bullshit. We'll contest this. No judge will allow." "Actually," Mr. Harrison interrupted, "everything Mr. Thompson did was completely legal. The money was his, earned privately, and he had every right to dispose of it as he wished. And given the documented evidence of your attempts to manipulate Mrs. Thompson, I doubt any judge would look favorably on your case. They stayed for another 30 minutes, alternating between begging, threatening, and trying to justify their actions. But I had made my decision. "The meeting is over," I finally said. "Mr. Harrison will be in touch with the final arrangements. You can leave now." As they filed out, Sharon grabbed my arm. "Mama, please." "We're family." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger wearing my daughter's face. "Family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me," I said quietly. "Your father knew that." I wish I had known it sooner. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've had Mr. Harrison set up the $2.8 million in accounts that only I can access. I've updated my will to leave everything to charities that help elderly people being abused by their families. I've kept my house, and I'm living exactly the way I want to live. Michael and Sharon have tried calling, texting, even showing up at my door. But I've made it clear, if they want a relationship with me, it will be on my terms, and it will not involve my money. So far, they haven't been interested in a relationship under those conditions. The hardest part isn't the loss of my children. They lost themselves long before I lost them. The hardest part is grieving for the people they used to be, for the sweet children they were before greed poisoned their hearts. But I'm not alone. I have my church family, my neighbors who check on me, and most importantly, I have the knowledge that my husband loved me enough to protect me even after death. Robert's letter ended with one more thing I haven't told you yet. He wrote, "Nadine, if you're reading this and our children have shown you who they really are, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to face this disappointment, but I'm not sorry I left you the means to protect yourself. You are the strongest woman I've ever known, even if you don't always see it yourself. Use this money to live the life you deserve. Travel, spoil yourself, help others who are in the situations we feared you'd be in. And Nadine, forgive them if you can, but never forget what they were willing to do. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting them hurt you again. I love you. I'll be waiting for you on the other side, where there's no greed, no betrayal, only love." I keep that letter in my bedside table. Some nights I read it and cry. Some nights I read it and smile, grateful for the man who loved me enough to plan ahead. My name is Nadine Thompson. I'm 73 years old, and my husband's letter bomb didn't destroy my life. It saved it. My name is Ruby, and I want to thank Nadine for sharing her story with us. Sometimes the people we love the most can hurt us the deepest. But as Nadine learned, true love protects, even from beyond the grave. What would you do if you discovered your children were planning to betray you? How would you handle a letter bomb like this? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed Nadine's story, please like this video and subscribe to Stories of Aunt Ruby. There are many more true life stories waiting for you, reminding you that real family is built on love and respect, not greed and manipulation. Until next time, with love and truth, Ruby.